But first, we're going to talk about finding our intentional supportive seat, the place where we come to when we are doing our contemplative practices, our pranayama, pratyahara, our withdrawal of senses, beyond our asana practice. Because guess what? That's what all that postures and that's what sun sails are for. That's what all of those tree poses and planks and all of those things are, an effort for us to be able to sit intentionally, supportively, so we can think and unite all parts of ourselves. So let's get into it. Siddhasana, Sukhasana, Padmasana, Vajrasana, all of those intentional seats in yoga are places for us to come where we begin to contemplate. And all of our asana practice, our movement of the body, is to prepare ourselves to sit in contemplation of life, of whatever we're contemplating for the day. So this is my seat, and it took me years to find it. Not just the cushions, but the way to arrange my body where I could sit comfortably with discomfort. Most of our asana practice begins in a seat. Arranging our bodies in a way that we're preparing for movement, even if that movement is only in the mind. And the first obstacle of that preparation is the settling of the body. Finding a comfortable, steady seat. And the first thing that will disrupt that steadiness is discomfort. When you are regularly uncomfortable in your body, finding a seat will always be difficult. So the first practice is allowing ourselves to recognize that we are uncomfortable and then doing something about it. So that's why it took me years to find this particular seat. I had to recognize that for my best self, I like to sit close to the ground because it allows me the opportunity to move my legs in a way that is comfortable. I like to be close to the earth. I also need to have my hips be supported in a way that allows them to be open or closed, however they need to be. I also have a little bit of trouble with my knees, so I need to be able to stand up and sit down with ease whenever I need to. So behind me, I have a few types of seats because guess what? Not everybody can get this low to the ground, and you don't have to. So let's find your comfortable seat. So since we're finding your seat, I move my seat aside and let's talk about if you know already being on the ground is not for you. Find a sturdy seat that supports your whole body, especially your back body. Ugh. Make sure that you can sit up tall and straight. Even if your head, you have to do a little work in your neck to support your head. Now turn sideways to make sure that we can talk about how we need to be able to arrange the legs in our lifted seat. We want to be able to let the legs go. So don't sit with your feet really close to your chair. Walk your feet forward so that your ankles and lower legs support the weight of your upper legs, not just your hips. And you aren't engaging any of the muscles in the backs of the legs or the front sides of the thighs as you bend your knees and keep your heels lifted. It might be helpful to have a stool or a footrest to make sure your knees and hips are in alignment. Having knees too high could be uncomfortable. So even lifting the hips a little bit might be helpful in your chair seat. If we're sitting intentionally, that means that we are working to engage the mind or the breath. We want to keep the shoulders and upper body lifted so the ribs can expand. So having a back that is lifted away, so having your back body away from the back side of the chair might be helpful if you're breathing or meditating or looking to maintain focus. Even sitting slightly more forward so your back is fully away from the chair could be helpful. Say you want to have a lifted seat, but keep the engagement in your core. You could also find a more active seat, a more active lifted seat on a mat, on a bouncy ball. Now, you don't have to have a fancy stand like I do, and it's really not even fancy. You could get a hula hoop and set it inside of it. But having a bouncy ball for your intentional seat will force you to engage your core as well. So finding the shoulders balanced over the hips and the crown of the head reaching up will allow for a little bit more engagement if you want. So you already know you want to be on the ground? Let's get there. Couple things about ground sitting. If you don't have natural cushion, it might not be comfortable for you. If you have natural cushion, it might not be comfortable for you. You got to pad yourself up. You need a little extra cushion, even if you have a little extra cushion. So let's talk about the shapes, the postures, those asana that I mentioned. And Sukhasana, easy seat, as it's sometimes translated to, is the first seat where we cross ankles and let knees work to rest sort of on ankles. Sometimes called crisscross applesauce. But here we find legs folded up into each other and work to get knees to rest somewhat on ankles. Now, I have very open hips. I am a regular yoga practitioner. I also just have naturally open hips. So this is an easy seat for me to find, but it's not an easy seat for me to stay in. Why? I don't have a lot of natural cushion, so I need to lift my hips a little bit more with softness. Also, my hips are lower than my knees, which will eventually lead to some intense pressure, nerve pain in my knees. So that'll make me want to get up. So I always will find a little bit of lift. Now, I am a gadget girly. All of my props are mostly to support that. It's because I like to have accessories. You don't need any of the things that I mentioned. Maybe a towel, maybe a blanket folded strategically to support and bring softness underneath ankles and hips. If you need a little bit more lift, when you fold your legs, you can bring a block or a stool like I have underneath my pillows to help lift your hips so that you can arrange your legs in a more supportive way. Now we'll find Sukhasana again with a little bit more support. That allows me to keep my hips, my shoulders and hips aligned, my belly lifted, and keep my breath open. My breath's open and loose. Another thing to consider when finding your intentional seat is the placement of the arms. Oftentimes when we come to meditations, the next thing that will take us out of that stable, still place is tension between the shoulder blades and the back of the neck because the arms are dangling free. We often carry a lot of tension in our shoulders, just like our hips. So making sure that both the legs are arranged in a way to help support the arms is just as important as finding cushion underneath the seat. So I'll come back to my own seat so I can talk about the way we arrange the legs for those other two seats, Siddhasana and Padmasana. Now, no matter how you arrange the legs, the back body should be as tall as you can make it. Roll your shoulders back, lift the crown of the head up, not the chin, not the forehead, the very top of you, almost as if there's a string pulling your head and shoulders, whole torso up and out of your hips. Now, that arrangement of the legs, we'll fold one in, bringing the heel as close to the center as possible, and then bring the other heel in with it, stacking one on top of the other. Now, none of us are symmetrical. One leg might feel better than the other. Sometimes bringing cushion between the heels will help settle the hips a little bit more. The point is to feel it out and give yourself permission to say no to the seat if it doesn't feel good, even if it's no for a day. And once we're finished with Siddhasana, well, not finished with, we'll move on to Padmasana, full lotus pose. Now, lotus is a very, very deep posture. It is bringing the heels all the way across and to the hip point. So we'll stack one hip across and then the other leg stacks up and over. My body doesn't fold into Padmasana. I've been practicing yoga for a little over a decade now. And my genetically open hips will not allow for Padmasana to happen yet. Or maybe sometime it will. Who knows? The point is, my body says no at this moment. So what do? We unfold and we go to the seat that works for us. Maybe folding your legs is not a thing you can do, even if you want to sit on the ground. Maybe folding the legs is not a thing you feel comfortable doing, even if you want to sit on the ground. Maybe you try Vajrasana, hero's pose, or thunderbolt pose. I'll slide my seat out in a way again, and we'll find a kneeling pose. Always remember, cushion where you need to. Unfold your towel. Bring knees to rest. You might even bring cushion underneath those ankles to support the flattening of the feet. You might even bring some lift to the hips so that the extension of the knees is not so deep. Maybe this is where you can sit, where your shoulders are able to be relaxed, where you can find stillness of the body. So take your time finding your seat today, and then sit in it for 5 minutes. Well, that's all I got for now. If you liked it, great. If not, that's cool too. Until next time, be well.